Skoda are just about to launch their highly anticipated Scala hatchback in Ireland, so I've come to Barbarastown Castle to have a little look. The price of the car will start from €23,650, and if you get one at launch, you'll even be able to avail of 1.9% APR on TCP. The Scala is going to be a highly important car for Skoda, with the brand hoping to eat into some of the market share from even the most famous of hatchbacks.
You go for the €900 optional extra in the glass roof. It means the glass comes all the way down here, Skoda name on the back of it. It's actually longer, this car, than a Golf, to give you an idea of space. The boot is 467 litres. It's the biggest boot in its class, and if you fold the seats forward you get over 1,400 litres. There's no extendable removable torch in the back, but there's loads of shopping hooks and little clips that you can secure things down with, because that's what Skoda do. There is an optional adjustable level floor in the boot that you can get. It's not in this car, but the boot space is really generous if you have a look at it. And then there's the optional boot release, which is just so good and really worth going for, because it just makes your life easier, I promise you. It's also the first Skoda ever to get sweeping LED indicators on the rear. You can also go for the option of full LED headlights. There's an air curtain over the front of the bumper here that lets air streamline through the car. Good for dynamics again, to reduce emissions. Rear is nice and spacious. Obviously the glass really makes a big difference to how the interior feels, but there's decent leg room, little storage bits here. All the USB ports are USB-C in the Scala. There's no USB ports at all anymore. They're also about to do a deal with Apple in the next few weeks, where you'll be able to use your phone wirelessly for many more options if you have an Apple product. There's two Isofix seats in the rear of this car. There is also a third one in the front passenger seat, which means you can carry up to 3 Isofix secure seats in your Scala if you have to. But legroom is really generous. There's a middle armrest, hooks here for the back of your coat. Again, you might need to get something like an Audi to get that traditionally. There's keyless on this car, which is an optional extra, and they have even included the really sought after, handy to get you out of trouble, Skoda umbrella. So overall first impressions, just a really good looking solid car from Skoda. I think Scala is going to be a big model for them, certainly into 2020. I'll be doing a full week long, living with it for a week anyway, review of the car later on, probably towards the end of summer. So hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, you'll get to see that. But first impressions, I'm very impressed. So the 1 litre on paper might not sound like an awful lot, but it is a very established engine for the group and for Skoda, and it handles the weight of this car perfectly fine. It's still got enough punch in it. It's pushing out 115 brake horsepower, and Skoda have done loads of things with the aerodynamics of this car and many other ways that they've been able to reduce the CO2 of it, and it means your road tax comes in at €200. It does feel really well insulated from the outside. It's a solid car on the road. The interior really is a step up. It's kind of got a floating tablet of sorts. I haven't really seen this in Skodas before. It's quite large, as seems to be the fashion these days. Also, an interesting point is that sales of hatchbacks across Europe are down over the last few years. Obviously everyone is obsessed with SUVs and crossovers. However, the decline isn't as dramatic in Ireland, so Skoda still expect this car to do very well. And in 2020 they will get about 700 cars from the factory to sell in Ireland. That would put sales of the car, if they sold every single one of them, somewhere between the Hyundai i30N and below the Toyota Corolla. I think for a new car to jump in the market, to do that would be very impressive. So I think 2020 is going to be a big year in Ireland for Skoda in general, but also in this Scala. This is a 6-speed manual gearbox. The entry level Scala will come with a 5-speed manual. The DSG is a 7. Very little engine noise. It's really quiet cabin. There is a bit of wind noise moving around the car. I don't know if that's because of the glass sunroof. It's extensively glass inside this cabin. It really brightens it up and looks good. The interior quality of the dash and stuff is, again, a little bit of a step up for Skoda. Again, I'm not sure I'd be too much of a fan of this kind of bronze effect trim in the dash, but in a silver or maybe a piano black or something, that would look pretty good. No other car in the market in the segment has as many airbags either. The Scala comes with 7 as standard. You can go for 2 rear curtain airbags as optional extras, bringing it to 9. So a very safe car all around. Families in particular are in mind for Skoda in terms of who's going to be buying this car. Again, on corners it handles well. Decent enough feedback from the steering, and it certainly doesn't wallow around corners. So quite an enjoyable car to drive on country roads and the likes. And again, quite impressive how this 1 litre TSI with 115 brake horsepower engine can push out power and progress you along on your journey, because I don't think it needs a huge amount of extra power. There's 4 flat or non-metallic colours and 8 metallic ones. This is velvet red in this car, and I think race blue is going to be one of the ones to go for. It's been used in some of the other models and is very, very eye-catching. So again, the car in this video is a style spec. It starts from just under €26,000, getting a lot of car with a lot of nice features in it for that price. And by the time we do the full video, we'll have the entry-level prices of the Scala here in Ireland as well. But again, I'd expect it to be somewhere around the €22,000 mark. Don't quote me on that, obviously. There's also 1.6 TDI with 115 brake horsepower. That is the only diesel option that you'll get in this car. Quoted figures are just over 5 litres per 100 kilometres to somewhere around 6.5. On my test drive this morning, I've achieved easily 7.5 litres per 100 kilometres, and obviously this car is still bedding in. There's very little mileage on it at the moment.